Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about Adam Aaron talking about shorts, how almost every short seller is going long on AMC, how AMC's future is looking, and many more in this video. Firstly, we talked about this message that Adam Aaron released yesterday, in which he talks about how he obviously is trying to bring AMC to a new level. He talks about the future of AMC. And we also talked about how, it's in Adam Aaron's best interest to obviously bring the price up for AMC because he is the largest individual shareholder. Now, one of the things we also talked about here is the message in which he says about it was also clear that many of you have a wide array of your own theories as to why AMC's share price has declined. Some of those views spot on, explain what has been happening, some are partially accurate, and others might make no sense at all. Now, we've already talked about this in terms of he didn't specify which ones are obviously correct, and he didn't say that they are completely wrong, it's just that they might make no sense at all. Now, the reason why I say this is because we've seen plenty of times in terms of the methods, in terms of the strategies utilized by these short sellers, by these market makers to suppress AMC. One of the biggest ones we talked about is, of course, with dark pool, is, of course, with high frequency trading, and, these things that we've seen in the past. Now, it's very likely that that is what Adam Aaron is referring to. He's obviously talking about the naked shorts. He's talking about the dark pool. The reason why I say that is because I just came across this video, which I'll quickly play for you guys. But it's Adam Aaron talking essentially that without a shadow of doubt, an immense amount of suppression, manipulation, fraud, and seller boxing by institutional computer algorithms targeting AMC. So I'll of course always link in the description for you guys to go check out yourself. But
tremendous amount of algorithmic machine trading in our stock every day. Our stock is still quite volatile.
So I apologize if it's too quiet, but you can obviously feel free to check out for yourself. Essentially, Adam Aaron is just talking about, and this is the interview back in 2021, but he is just talking about the sort of algorithm trading that's ongoing for AMC. And he talks about the volatility. He talks about how it's not the norm. And we've known that with these high frequency trading algorithms, they are typically used to suppress the price of AMC. We've seen it with the spoofing. We've seen it with the naked shorts. And that's obviously what's happening. And so going back to the message that Adam Aaron released recently, it makes sense to why he's saying about how some of these views are spot on in terms of what's been happening. But he has already said that he can't obviously be public about commenting on certain areas. And so this is what I wanted to quickly talk about. And then, we have to understand is that the manipulation is obviously constantly happening. You can see for him, 7.1 million fine for failing to stop insider trading and manipulation, but somehow retail investors are the problem, where we're looking at a bank getting hit for failing to stop potential insider trading and manipulative activity. And so for those of you who don't believe Adam Aaron, who don't believe, what the apes are saying, these are things that are ongoing. These are actual things that are being fined, which showcases the manipulation that it's going on. And these are done by banks. And so when we talk about how all of these institutions are helping one another out and screwing over the retail, this is what we're looking at. Because we've seen how brokers have helped short sellers. We've seen how some of the market makers have helped short sellers. We've seen how the regulations have helped the short sellers. And so this is all just one big circle of where they're helping each other and they're trying to obviously screw over retail, but we know that they can't keep this up forever. And you can see that it's already starting to eat into them. It's already starting to show that these short sellers are seeing what's about to happen. They're right now scared of everything that AMC has done and everything that we are about to do. Because you can see here, almost all AMC short sellers from 2021 are or have accumulated millions of AMC shares as the price dropped. Citadel, Susquehanna, 0.72, D-Shore, Geode, and more all hedge with big long positions now. Something's going to break, they are prepping for it. So firms who were once extremely big on just shorting AMC are all starting to buy more and more. Now, some could call it a hedge, which it is, but we're also looking at how other short sellers have actually closed out their entire short positions to just go fully long on AMC. Now, we've already shown you guys the institutional ownership of AMC. We've seen how rapidly it's growing. We're seeing how demanded AMC shares are, to the fact that we're looking at millions and billions of synthetics being created just to fulfill these demand. And this is what we're looking at. These short sellers who are also hedging, who are also trying to accumulate and buy as much AMC as possible. Now, typically when you do this, when you were someone who once said in terms of institutions who previously thought that AMC was free money when you just short, who are now going long, it clearly shows that they realize something's about to happen. This is what we've said with how AMC, with everything that they are doing, with everything that they're about to do, is definitely going to allow AMC to be put in an extremely better position. We've already talked about the partnerships, we talked about the box office. Right now, with everything that's going on, especially the illiquidity issue, it makes sense to why these short sellers are panicking and buying AMC. When you take a look at the fundamentals, you can see AMC is going in the right direction. We talked about the premium large format expansion, where they're aggressively pushing premium experiences under the Go plan. We talked about it. AMC expanding new locations. AMC is investing more into premium screens, because that's what they've realized in terms of what brings the most customers, what brings the most revenue, what brings the most profit. And what we're looking at is just AMC making their business structures more and more efficient. And so when you understand this, and when you understand how AMC is growing, how AMC is operating, it makes sense to firstly why firms who weren't originally shorting AMC have been trying to buy AMC. Why it showed that there was a massive demand, why all of these firms all wanted to accumulate as much AMC. And then when you've realized that everyone started buying into AMC, now that big institutions have a stake in AMC as well, and they want to profit off of AMC, they are still going to start pressuring the regulations. They're going to start allowing AMC to actually see real price action, is why the short sellers are then also accumulating, because they've realized that they can't suppress AMC anymore. They're going to be struggling to suppress AMC as time goes by, whether it's because more institutions are involved and or the fact that they are struggling with capital. They're losing money in all the financing costs that they've spent in the past. They're losing money in other industries. We talked about the short silver squeeze. We talked about the commercial real estate. There is so many things that's going on right now that's damaging these short sellers. And you can see for the box office how well it's doing. And this is very important because it essentially just shows us, what we should be preparing for next year, what we should be preparing for the upcoming months as well. And, for AMC, we talked about how they are the biggest company. And the very fact that when we are looking at the box office getting bigger, when we are looking at the box office booming, the ones that are going to benefit the most will be AMC. Now, these articles may try and spin it off a different way, which we'll talk about later on, but we know what the truth is. You can even see here one of the biggest AMC short sellers with yet another new long position, Susquehanna, where they added another 1.5 million long AMC shares. Now, I want to talk about this because, firstly, when you take a look at what's going on, they have a net positive in terms of calls against the put. But not only that, it's the fact that they aren't just buying small amount of shares. They're buying large amount of shares, but also consistently. They've realized how big of an opportunity this is. So some of you may be saying that we are seeing the price of AMC going down, in which we are. That's something I'm not denying. But despite what the articles are saying, one of the things that we have to realize is that as the price is going down, whilst these articles are saying that people are selling, institutions are actually doing the very opposite. As they see the price of AMC dropping, they are actually buying more and more AMC. And the reason why that's extremely important to note is because these short sellers are buying AMC as the price goes down. So typically, when you see the price go down and you're a short seller, you would be making profit, you will be covering your position, but you won't be going long on this particular stock. So the very fact that they are going long on AMC as we see the price going down whilst they have a short position open really tells us they can't actually make profit from these short positions, and that they realized that this whole thing all along was just to suppress AMC so that they could buy and get in cheaper. And you can see, wake up world, we all know by now the entire corrupt financial system is on our movie theater, because you can see here, Cinemark celebrates record-breaking achievement in 2025, including its highest grossing box office since 2019. So once again, we're seeing how the industry is improving, we're seeing how the industry is booming, yet the ones who gets the praise for it are companies like Cinemark, are companies like IMAX, which we've already talked about the comparison about how AMC has done better. We talked about the record EBITDA that AMC's had last year. We talked about the record attendance that AMC has had, yet you don't see it being talked. You see them talk about Cinemark, which we know is institutional owned at over 120%. And this is what we talked about with how news articles are just trying to push retail away from AMC. And normally that would be something that we ignore when it comes to other stocks. But the very fact that they are trying to push retail away from AMC while seeing that institutions are buying at an alarming fast rate, that should really raise their bells. That should let you know about what's going on. And this is an example I saw on GME, but I think the same applies for AMC as well. When GME is $1,300 plus per share, you won't care if you bought it at $3,000, hell, even $500. GameStop could literally change your life. And I think the same applies for AMC as well. And the example is obviously very simple. When we see AMC at $1,000, at $10,000, you won't be caring whether you bought in at $1, $2, $5, or $10. And that is the biggest thing. Now, obviously, the lower you buy it, the more profit, but you're still making profit regardless. And so this is obviously something that I think is a very good example of what's going on, and is to realize the value that there is. Now, here's also another thing. Regulators fined Banks of America shared confidential information ahead of block trade. So earlier in the video, we talked about how institutions help one another. And this is just another example. Now, the very fact is Bank of America is something that I want to talk about, because Bank of America and their ties with Citadel. So the very fact we are seeing them do things like this, once again, it showcases why we've known that AMC is faced with manipulation, why it's faced with suppression, because these institutions are all working together. And in terms of working together, we're also looking at how these institutions are trying to bring down HYMC right now. A big reason for why they're trying to bring it down is obviously because they can harm AMC, as AMC has investments that's making profits from HYMC. But you can see, they borrow shares and short HYMC. Then they pull 60% buys off exchange, drop the price, cover, take profit, use profit to borrow even more shares and short HYMC more. You can see, and you take a look at the comparison, yes, HYMC will move along with the rest of the commodity market, that's for certain. But when you see how much suppression HYMC is facing, and then you're seeing how its relationship with AMC, you start to see the things start linking together. And then you can even see here, in terms of all the things that's going on for the silver market as well, where US brokers are recommending clients to short silver because it will melt down next week. And, you know, it just looks like they're trying to get out of this mess, and it's why we're seeing the suppression obviously happening. As always, now there's financial advice, so do take us to go soul. Make sure to do your own due diligence and research, and I'll catch you guys next time.